All right, so that was Gloria Allred. She is representing Mimi Haley, one of the accusers here that this trial is centered around. We're going to take you back now live outside of that courthouse because Jesse Weber just came out of the courtroom. He is going to give us the latest update on what happened since we last heard from you earlier this morning. Jesse, what's the latest?
Yeah, well, I should let you know that only a select few members of the media were allowed in to make room for the 120 potential jurors in this case. They were the ones that were ultimately questioned. Now, I wasn't able to get back in there. I'm going to try and get in the afternoon, but I can tell you what we can expect and what we've seen so far. So we know that they were handed a 16-page questionnaire that they were asked to fill out beforehand, number of different questions. And we've seen questionnaires before where they're asked their age, their name, where they're from, job history, but then there are specific questions targeted to this case. For instance, are you or any member of your family a victim of physical or sexual abuse? Then they were asked about 5 or 6 questions about Harvey Weinstein. The judge did make an announcement, I know this, in open court saying, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New York Supreme Court. This is the Harvey Weinstein case. And some of the questions that they were asked were obviously, have they read anything about the Harvey Weinstein case? And if so, could they still be impartial? Can they still be unbiased? Can they still make a decision based purely on the evidence? It's a hard task, I got to tell you, in a case that has so much attention and so many different opinions on it. Now, one of the other things that they were asked is that this trial is going to last a while, 6 to 8 weeks. People have lives. They have a lot going on. Can they fulfill that duty of staying on the jury for that period of time? And that's one of the questions. Now, what we learned from the judge earlier on today is that this jury selection process will last about 2 to 3 weeks. He is hoping for opening statements around January 22nd. That may be an easy goal. That may not be a goal, a realistic goal. We'll have to see. He says if they can't get a jury or if there's a problem, they'll have to start all over again. And that's where we're at right now in officially the first day of jury selection.
So, Jesse, tell us, have they done the rounds of the jurors yet? Are they getting a lot of time with each of these rounds? If so, do you know how long they're getting to question them?
So my understanding, based upon what we heard earlier on, is that it appears each side will have about 15 minutes to question a juror. Now, let me tell you why that was problematic for the defense. Earlier on, they had made a motion, a ploy, to try to actually get this trial delayed. They asked for that in light of the LA indictment, saying, how can you possibly get a fair and impartial jury when on the eve of jury selection, it was announced all across the world that Harvey Weinstein was hit with this additional indictment. Now, Arthur Aidala, who is one of the attorneys representing Harvey Weinstein, did ask for that. It was ultimately not granted by the judge, and he said, you can question these jurors about the LA charges if you want to. That's the purpose of this process. Now, again, Arthur Aidala said, but in 15 minutes, I'm going to be able to answer these, to really get into the minds of these prospective jurors. The judge said, well, it's not just 15 minutes because they did fill out that questionnaire. So they did give you some answers beforehand. Again, it's not a significant, not a real large amount of time to really understand who these jurors are. But what the judge did say is that this is kind of round one of jury selection. He said the open jury selection where the public will be able to view, where I believe more members of the media will be able to check it out, is next week. That might be a more in-depth jury selection process. Again, the goal here is to narrow it down to 18, 12 jurors, 6 alternates. Will be tough to do, and we'll have to see what questions are ultimately asked and if they're able to get a jury in the next couple of weeks.
And you mentioned some of the parts of the questionnaire include questions about publicity and the media coverage of the trial, and obviously Harvey Weinstein himself as a public figure. But was there any questions about sexual assault or anything like that?
Yes, there was. There was a question if you or anybody in your family has been a victim of physical or sexual assault. Not surprising, you would see that kind of question. That is something that you would see in these types of cases. You want to make sure you understand what somebody's history is and have they ever had any experience with that, because that could cloud their judgment in this kind of case. You really want impartial jurors. In a perfect world, you want somebody that doesn't know anything about this kind of case. You don't want anybody to have any knowledge of Harvey Weinstein Weinstein, you want somebody who is unfamiliar or has had no experience with sexual assault. They are just supposed to base their decision on the evidence presented. However, we all know that people come with a history, life experiences, both for them, their family, their friends. That is why you need these prospective jurors to be as truthful as possible when giving these answers, because that's the precise kind of question that both sides would want to know the answer to.
Absolutely. All right, Jesse Weber, thank you so much, live in front of the Supreme Court there in downtown Manhattan. Jesse, thank you so much. We've got to take a break right now in Law and Crime. When we come back, we'll be back live in the Groves trial and have more coverage here on Harvey Weinstein's jury selection. Stay with us on Law